If I had to choose car finance, I'd probably just pick a bank loan. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be asking and answering what is the best method to buy. Is it to rent or is it to buy a car outright? Now this is a hugely popular topic at the moment because there's been changes to the car market, there's been changes to the policies that are being made in the industry as well, and it's all affecting the price of cars that we see at the moment. 2023 will absolutely be the most turbulent year in car buying for a very long time. In this video we're also going to be mentioning the different types of car buying options that you have. That includes a number of very confusing different finance methods that aren't actually that too confusing, but this type of video has to be released every few couple of years because the way that we do buy our cars are always changing. So there's different things that you can choose, and there's different methods that you can actually benefit from. Not everyone is going to buy a car outright, not everyone's going to buy a car in finance, not everyone is going to buy a car at all. So if you are going to buy a car, here's a pretty comprehensive list of what you should probably do in different scenarios. So firstly, why am I making this video? Well, one, there's a massive knowledge gap in the entire industry. A lot of people see different car websites and different adverts when they're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook, and they see different deals that exist. And how do you really stack and compare those deals? Because you don't just buy a car every single day. So how would you really get to understand what position you're in and what position each different offer has? Now, me personally, I've been working in the banking industry for about 3 years, and then in Q3 of 2021 I decided to change my industry altogether, and I started working in the luxury car brand, in the luxury car market I should say. I actually ended up working for one of the most prestigious car brands in the world, and it's kind of given me quite a unique insight into the way how people buy and different people choose to spend their money, and also the way how they actually go about spending their money in different types of ways as well, if that kind of makes sense. So we'll go over some worked example as well throughout this video, and hopefully it gives you a better idea on how you should probably look at buying your next car as well. So this video will collate a lot of information into small, bite-sized and digestible chunks, so that you don't have to spend hours scouring through the internet to get all this information. Now to begin, we're going to go through some tedious definitions that you would have heard in the industry. There's things like PCP, there's things like leasing, HP, all of these different things are going to be cleared up in this video as a recap. Then we're going to look at different types of finance methods that aren't too well known, but I think are just great options here as well. So stay tuned to the entire video, and I'll be sharing those different insights for you there as well. This is probably the best time to mention this, but anything that you do see in this video is not considered financial advice. I would always go ahead and speak to a professional such as an accountant if you are thinking about making a large purchase of any amount. There are a few terms that are going to be thrown around here. When I say renting, I'm referring to the notion of car leasing. This is where you choose to pay an initial upfront deposit for a car, say £500, and then pay a fixed monthly fee for anywhere between 1 to 5 years, and then at the end of your agreement, you simply hand the keys back to the dealer. Should there be no damage to the car other than wear and tear, then that's all you'll really need to pay. It's super easy to do, and maintaining the car is really the only worry you need to have during the contract term. Renting could also mean PCP or something called personal contract purchase. This works similar to leasing, however you will have the option to buy the car at the end of the agreement. And unlike leasing, the monthly payments you are making will go towards paying off the car. I've always felt that between leasing and PCP is usually a bit better option for most people because the monthly payments are typically lower and there's more flexibility if you wanted to buy the car at the end. Note that PCP is beneficial for people who like to change their cars every 3 or 4 years. There's another type of finance called HP or hire purchase. This is what it says on the tin. You aim is to purchase the car at the end of your finance agreement. This is the most simple bare bones finance you can get. It works by paying a deposit of any amount and then paying off the balance of the car over an agreed period of time with interest. In other words, it's exactly like having a bank loan. In fact, bank loans can offer a much better way to pay for cars because their retrospective interest rates are typically lower than what the finance lender offers. Finally, we have the bank loan. Hopefully I won't need to explain this much, but here you have it. You agree to borrow an amount from your bank. You choose the repayment length, and then the bank will give you the total amount directly into your bank account. You can then take that money and pay the car dealer outright and transfer the full balance. This car is now yours, and you will only have to consider paying back the bank over an agreed period of time. The brilliant part about this is that with bank loans, you can pay back the bank over a greater period of time, such as 7 or 8 years, compared to the likes of leasing or PCP, where you might only be offered 4 to 5 years. So your monthly payments are considerably lower with bank loans. But always check your total payments before taking out any lending. It's actually a legal requirement for lenders to show this before you can take out a loan of any type. And now for the mystery finance option. Borrow for free with interest-free credit cards. You heard that right, this tool is an unspoken gem in the motor trade, and it gives a decent amount of consumers a way to spread out the cost of a car completely free of charge. A number of high street banks offer introductory rates anywhere from 12 to 25 months, meaning should your monthly budget allow for it, you could see yourself in a new car without breaking the bank, thus giving you the financial freedom to distribute your funds more carefully. What's the catch here, I hear you ask? A potentially big one is, before actually applying for credit cards, you need to first see if the dealership will allow for that card to be used. Then you have to ensure that the card has a sufficiently high enough credit limit to cover the cost of the car. If both of these are satisfied, then this should be the best way to buy a car, and to top it off, you'll be covered by Section 75, which secures your payment. The Money Saving Expert has a brilliant article about this, and I'll leave a link in the description. Let's discuss why people choose to finance a car over buying it outright. In short, it's all to do with opportunity cost. How much opportunity are we willing to forego to get ourselves into a decent car? Now, with soaring prices across multiple industries and inflation at an all-time high, it's no surprise that many look towards borrowing. And car manufacturers are doubling down on the action too. The DVSA estimates around 90% of new cars are purchased under a finance scheme, while my own experience at an industry-leading retailer saw over 80% uptake across new and used cars. Let's take a look at that £20,000 car for example. By putting down a 10% deposit and then choosing a monthly payment plan, you've really just freed up £17,000 that's no longer locked up within the car. That's £17,000 could be put towards anything from emergency funds, home renovations, other important costs, and even to invest. What they shouldn't do is just be sat in a savings account unless they're there specifically for a reason. And what I mean by this is that any interest earned from savings will be much less than what is being paid out for the car finance scheme. So if you're in a position to get into a new car and aren't too sure how to fund it, you can definitely create a financial plan for yourself and see how getting into a car will affect the short and medium term. Setting up financial plans is hugely important in this day and age. Simply put, we're not earning enough and the cost of living is going through the roof. So having a plan like this in place can really help. And from my own experience, I've found that a lot of people were spending above their means to get into cars that they probably didn't really need. Just shows you how salespeople work.
Okay, here's how it goes. Buyers never tell you what they're willing to spend, and when they talk privately, we spy on them through this one-way mirror.
We'll clean out those stupid Americans.
So what's the cheapest option? Sadly, there's no one-size-fits-all answer to which wins, but allow me to reframe the question to, can leasing be cheaper than buying? Now, as cars almost always depreciate, you could say that they're never a good investment. But if you do buy a car, you'll at least be able to sell it and get some money back when you want to change it. It's different with leasing, as you know from the outset that you'll be left with nothing at the end of the deal. The key question therefore is whether the amount you'd pay over the duration of the lease is higher or lower than the amount you'd lose by owning the car and then reselling it over the same period. So the price you'd buy for it, plus any interest costs if you chose to borrow it, minus the price that you'd be expecting to sell it for. If it's lower, leasing would be cheaper than buying, plus you won't have any cash tied up in the car as you'll just need to keep up with the monthly payments. But if it's higher, then you would be better off buying the car. But how can you map out the price of a car before you buy it? My friends, this is the way. Call up the dealer right now and ask them for quotes, specifically PCP quotes. Ask them what the balloon payment will be for any given car at any given deposit after 2, 3 and 4 years. See how that price depreciates and decreases over time, and I would typically expect it to slow down its depreciation as time goes on. But this is a great way to find out the current market rates of what you can at least expect from your car in the next 4 years. But what are balloon payments? They are essentially the guaranteed minimum value that a manufacturer could give for that car that you are trying to give back to the dealer. It's a guarantee from the dealer based on that day's information on what's happening with the markets. Obviously, this method of calling up the dealer would only allow you to conduct market research and won't necessarily guarantee anything unless you sign the dotted line. But at least calling them up will give you a good indication of what could happen with the price ahead of time. So now that we've found what the cheapest options are, it's now important to find out how to find the cheapest lease deals. Now you can search hundreds of lease deals online by entering a specific model or putting it in your budget, preferred contract length or type of car you're after, such as an SUV or a convertible. To help find the best deal, follow these points. Step 1. Compare using the total cost over the entire contract. Don't just be distracted by low monthly payments. This often disguises a larger deposit. It's the total cost that matters. Multiply the monthly payment by the number of months in the deal, plus any larger deposits, plus any fees. So, for an example, 6 plus 23 with a £150 a month deal with a £199 processing fee. You'd pay a total of £4,549 over 2 years. You can then compare this against other lease deals over the same term or with different types of finance. Plus, if this is higher than the amount you'd expect the car to lose in value that you bought it at and sold the car yourself, then it's likely not a great value deal, and vice versa. Step 2. Play around with the contract length. Some deals are only available on certain terms. There's no set rule for which period is cheaper. For example, we've seen a 2-year deal that works out cheaper per year than a 4-year deal. Step 3. Be realistic with your expected mileage. Here, more miles will almost always return a more costly deal, though you need to set an allowance you think you can stick to, or you'll just be stung with charges at the end. So there's a lot that's been discussed here, and really take the time to digest the information at hand. If you've made it this far, you've probably gone through the timestamps, and if you have any questions about all things cars, then do leave them down below. One final leaving point if you are taking any finance is to shop around for the best finance deals online and play around with contract lengths. And finally, use car leasing comparison sites. My personal favourite is Leasing.com, who have partnerships with hundreds of providers across the UK. Just search for the car and it will find you the cheapest lease price for you. So once again, thanks for watching. If you're new here or an existing subscriber, then you may have noticed how sporadic these videos come by. There's been some changes to the way how I work, and there will be a notable change to the uploading schedule. The direction of the channel will veer towards insightful content on all things cars, with Formula 1 making up the rest of the content. So if either interests you, then consider subscribing to our channel, the home of all things automobiles.
I know you're gonna dig this.